You're a natural.
I am. All right, I think I got it. And then the big blue button releases it.
Yep, flip it up right so they're all like this.
Okay.
Oh, let me show you. This one's on the front here.
Okay.
He makes it look so easy.
I know.
I think he's done this a time
That's
or two.
because we've done a few. That's good.
Okay. And then towels. So then
Yep.
button. This one?
Yep.
Yes. Come on. See, he's got to stop it for us.
What am I doing wrong here?
Oh, you're doing nothing. You just haven't done it before.
Sure.
All right.
You've almost
This one?
got, yeah.
That was you?
Yeah, you got a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little different this
You
one.
started with a 3/4 cow.
Unlike Patrick and I, these guys are pros at the milking assembly line. First, an iodine pre-dip that kills germs. Then, dry off the udders with the wipe of a cloth. Attach the suction cups and voila, milk.
So, up.
So this isn't necessarily easy.
No. No, no, no.
No, it is.
So Patrick, I think you win the milking, but I'm definitely going to win when it's time to eat ice cream. It's kind of crazy the amount of milk each one's producing.
Yes. and
About 6 gallons every time they come down.
How many cows
We have
do you-
600 here.
600, so you do all 600 at the same time?
Takes us about 3 hours.
600 times 6
Like
times 2.
nine hours with us doing
600 each day, 2 times per day. 1,200 cows are getting milk each day here.
By 2 guys?
Yeah.
Wow.
it. Holy cow.
Well, they're going to get to take an early break with our help today.
Yeah, absolutely. More like they'll be done 3 hours later.
You guys are going to be, right.
James is a third-generation farmer. His grandfather purchased this land in 1946. Currently, he co-owns the farm with his brother Robert. Their traditional herd of mainly Holsteins has about 600 cows, while their organic herd has 250.
You know, over time, all farms kind of grow a little. So we certainly aren't large. We're probably on the bigger side of average. People have been tending livestock for thousands of years because cows are ruminants, so maybe she's just laying there chewing her cud. You see her jaw like she's chewing gum. All of that, we drive up and down the road and we see all that green stuff, all that crop. They turn that into things that we can very readily digest and eat and use. So she's turning 100 pounds of forage into 15 pounds of milk while she's lounging around. So the cows are all milk for the day. They're all fed for the day. Basically, they're gonna eat, rest, socialize, lay around until night milking.
Wisconsin is known as America's dairyland, and dairy, as most of us know, has had a rough few years. In 2019, at the World Dairy Expo, the Agriculture Secretary mentioned one of the reasons for low returns to farmers.
The problem with dairy, I'm going to speak to you guys for just a second. You know, they say when milk prices are low, you need to milk more cows, right, to make up for it. And when milk prices are high, you need to milk more cows to take advantage of it. So that's who y'all are, right? So that's the problem we get with oversupply.
Most farmers have had to take on unsustainable amounts of debt to sell milk at unsustainably low prices, learning that they either need to do more than sell milk or get bigger to turn a profit.
Obviously, I benefit when milk is cheap because I buy thousands of pounds of cheese.
Yes.
However, I'm okay with it being more expensive. You know, we get our cheese from Wisconsin, and there's dairy farmers that provide that cheese, and I want to make sure that those people are making a living too.
Let's say the price of milk today is the same as it was 10 years ago, and we all know it just costs more everything as time goes by. So the way that farmers account for that, the way they stay in business then, if the price doesn't ever go up, we have to make more of the product. And that's that double-edged sword of price isn't going up, so I make more milk, which means there's more milk, which means the price doesn't go up. That's like not just milk, that's all commodities. So that part of it, to break that cycle takes like things like organic milk or farmstead creameries.
90% of sales for Sassy Cow comes directly from milk, and part of how they've been successful is by having their own processing plant on site. The family built the creamery to stabilize the milk prices they receive, and in the late 90s diversified production by raising organic cattle.
No. You just downgraded the whole shit.
I've been doing that steadily for the last 6 weeks.
You just downgraded the whole show.
Now that is my favorite movie. During the grazing season, they need to be getting at least 30% of their daily feed intake as pasture. About 24 to 25 different pastures. The idea being then, by the time they got finished with number 25, and they go back to number one has had a chance to regrow. These little rows, this is ryegrass. It'll grow year in, year out. Then there's some clovers. You hear about alfalfa. Alfalfa generally is a 3-year crop. After that, disease and winterness and overwintering and all that, they don't last longer than that. And so they consume large amounts of grass, but we also give them a mixed ration and some grains and that in the barn to supplement. It's kind of all about balance. We talk about plant-based protein. This is the first ingredient for cheese on the pizza.
Yep.
It starts here.
We needed spinach. I don't think they have any spinach.
There is no spinach.
That's produced locally.
The growing season's over, so it's not available at the market.
Right.
Winter spinach isn't available yet. So now we have to make one of those Wisconsin choices.
You make the Wisconsin choice. I think the Wisconsin choice is we're going to go ahead and get some other spinach.
Yeah, and I guess in this case, I'd rather go with organic than
Okay.
anything else.
You can't go local, go organic, right?
Yep. We try to focus on local products with protein, so we almost exclusively get our meats locally. Everything that we're getting, we're looking to Dane County first because there's just so much of it available, and then outside of Dane County, but pretty much exclusively Wisconsin. We're pretty fortunate.
Yeah. That's one thing where you don't really have to cut corners. You ready to fight?
Yeah. Ready?
Okay. Mine! Oh! Fair enough.
Here's your knife. You can use this one.
Yeah, right?
The little one. No, just kidding. These meatballs are my grandmother's recipe, probably my great-grandmother's recipe. Beef, pork, and veal in these meatballs with a lot of Romano cheese. It's the way that my family's been eating them for generations. And so that's what I'm sharing tonight. I'm just heating them up in the sauce. I made them yesterday.
How much as chefs do you know about the source of your products? And how do you find that out?
It's helpful to work with organizations like REAP that, early on were really helpful with me connecting with some of our farmers. But at this point, I think we were sitting about 68% of all the ingredients that we use for our restaurants come from our Wisconsin farm partners, which is pretty significant considering we do have Wisconsin winters. And we do Italian food, so we can't get things like olive oil. We can't get things like lemons. But we're fortunate because we do go through a ridiculous amount of mozzarella and a ridiculous amount of cheeses.
Yeah.
So we could really kind of boost those numbers. But even in the wintertime, you'll see our specials derived from root vegetables. Everybody loves rutabaga pizza, but that's the situation that we are in Wisconsin. We try to use those things. We had our issue with the explosion in Sun Prairie last year, which shut us down for several weeks, and our farmers took care of us when we reopened, and everybody dropped off beef. They dropped off vegetables to get us started again because we lost everything. So, you're not going to find that with large, broadline food service providers.
I appreciate so much your commitment to local sourcing because that makes a really significant difference for farmers' bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Every step in the supply chain is someone else who has to be paid, and when most of that can go directly to the farmer, it's tremendous.
You feel more sense of community that way, I think, especially as a chef. This cheese is called burrata. Burrata means buttered in Italian. This cheese is created with Sassy Cow dairy. So we make fresh mozzarella, and that's the shell on the outside. And on the inside is the mozzarella scraps and Sassy Cow cream. So there's salt and pepper as well, but it's creamy, it's rich, it's a fresh cheese. It's a traditional Italian thing that we love making in Wisconsin because we have such great dairy here.
This is some true Italian fare. Chef Patrick's prepared meal begins with a charcuterie board featuring the burrata. The main course is pasta bolognese, just like his grandmother used to make it.
The meat has been simmered in Sassy Cow dairy.
Flavored with vino, this simple sauté of spinach, garlic, onions, and mushrooms makes a complimentary side.
yourself as a farmer who's doing value-added dairy or a restaurateur or...
I'm always farmer first.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm spending the most amount of hours in my week on the farm, but I'm still feeding calves and pulling out creatures out of cows.
Hopefully calves, mostly.
Unless it would be a movie like Alien. You've done a really good job of essentially creating your own market.
Always the challenge of how to sell a gallon of milk. So sometimes we kind of we have a few cores that we try to, no matter what crazy stuff we're doing, we keep the same mission always.
You've diversified. You don't just sell milk. You're selling ice cream and you're selling cheese. And do you think that doing those things for you is one way that you've kind of been able to move past just constantly focusing on the price of milk?
The curse of the farmer always, for the longest time, has been you are a price taker. You're selling a product and you're not dictating a price. So, and that's across all commodities, not just milk. But you're, in a way, when you are doing value-added anything, you're trading out some worries for another set of worries. So you maybe take something like a volatility of year-to-year price volatility, maybe you lessen that, but then maybe you open yourself up to like a whole nother side of liabilities and things to worry about.
You're not totally insulated from the ups and downs of the market value.
Not at all.
Because if the price of bottled milk in the grocery store plummets, that's the price that is being advertised next to Sassy Cow milk too.
And milk pricing would be a one dinner topic. That would be like a that would be like a breakfast, noon, and lunch and dinner topic. But those are real world difficult problems to solve.
Well, it seems to me like it's almost impossible to solve. I mean, just speaking candidly, it's like one of those things where, like, how do you stop production with milk? It's like, okay, well, let's hold it back and try and create that demand. But in the meanwhile, while you're holding back and trying to create that demand, how do you survive?
In Wisconsin, we're losing farms pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
And I've kind of always assumed, and you read it in the news, as this is a Republican issue, and these are the tariffs that are happening right now. But you had mentioned that's not necessarily the case. It's been going on far longer than that. Where does this start and how does it end, I guess?
The economic challenges for dairy farmers are unfortunately bipartisan, and they have lasted longer than any one administration. And it's kind of true of agricultural policy in general. We tend to incentivize overproduction. When there's excess of a commodity on the market, whether it's milk or wheat or any kind of agricultural commodity, the price goes down. And so through the Dairy Together movement, we're working really hard to coalesce farmers and other people who have a stake in a really thriving dairy economy to advocate for federal policies that would balance supply and demand, so that we're not overshooting the market. And the result is, and we have good economic analysis that shows this, that we would significantly increase farm incomes and reduce taxpayer expenditures on dairy programs.
But how do you do that, though, when the problem is it's that, in order to stay in business, you need to sell more milk. In order to sell more milk, you need to increase the volume, and then the price continues to go down. And when the price goes down, you need to sell more milk again in order to do that in such a volume to be sustainable. But it's not really sustainable. There is an end point. So how do you address that?
Exactly. It's like a treadmill that just keeps going faster and faster and faster. And you probably
It's like a race to the bottom.
Yeah, you just run faster. And so for any given farmer, the solution to high prices is to make more to capitalize on the high prices while they last. And if prices are low, you make more milk to try to get the value out of your fixed costs. And so what we want to create is an economic incentive in federal policy that gives the market signal that farmers should be getting. So if there's too much milk on the market, the signal is slow down.
There are huge cost advantages to being a bigger processing operation that gobbles up their smaller competitors. So the processor, the middleman retailer, can pay less and less for milk that comes from a small family dairy farm. And us shoppers, well, we don't see the price change at the grocery store. In 2017, Walmart decided to start processing its own milk, which led to Dean Foods canceling more than 100 milk contracts with dairy farmers in 8 states. To say that this problem is small would be a really big understatement.
You can pay once for food that's produced well and with care for the environment, or you can pay twice for cheap food and then for environmental cleanup programs later.
Or ag subsidies.
Right.
Or
What I think farmers want, what farmers tell us over and over that they want, is a fair price in the first place so that they can take care of all of the other things, feeding their own family and taking care of soil and water quality and spending time building the vitality of their rural communities. And when we think about the lowest price only, we miss all of the other values that we pay money for anyway. So we might as well just put it all in the same paycheck.
Yep.
There's a way for consumers, processors, and producers, for farmers to all do well. And in fact, the numbers that we've seen tell us that farmers could have their milk income doubled, and the impact on a gallon of milk would be only 10 cents more. We think there's a way that we could be doing a lot better by farmers without, we certainly don't want to stick it to consumers, but it's possible to do both.
I mean, my kids got to put something on their cereal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would assume now that we're done with all of the things Patrick's made, you've brought some ice cream for us to finish with.
It's hard to compete with this
did you bring the 3-gallon food service tubs?
3-gallon tub of Christmas peppermint ice cream. That's about the closest thing we have to
For each of
dessert
us,
now.
right?
I'd say we come back in the summer and do the ice cream.
Until we meet again.